Hello there. My name is Dana, and I'm from Dana Spirit Butterfly and the Sacred Rose Awakening. This is an energy forecast for 2019, and if you've never had an energy forecast, or indeed if you've never had a reading before, then you may not know what an energy forecast is or why this is important to tune into. So as much as we may believe that we're down here in isolation, that we are down here alone, when you sit at home in your bedroom by yourself, you're actually influenced by a number of things. You're influenced by an energetic system that you have, which calls to you other people and other things. And so for many, this is the law of attraction. This is what the law of attraction is about. While sitting in your own little bubble, you call to you certain experiences that are open to you to have as a soul. And so while you may think that you're sitting alone, you actually are impacted by a bigger, broader world. And indeed, we are never truly alone. So the types of influences that can influence you, if you've ever been to a reading of mine, for example, I will start nearly always, not always, depending on where the spirit intelligence that comes through with you wants me to work. But if I start to talk to you about numerology, then what we're looking at here is not necessarily you and only you. Numerology is not an identity. So you have your own identity. So I'm a number 5 life path, for example, numerologically, but that's an influence on my life. This is like a wave or a flow that the universe offers me to have my experience in. And so when we talk about numerology, we're not talking about it being you. You are you. Your soul is you. But numerology is an influence that acts as a certain type of energy impact on your field. So, for example, being a number 5 life path, which is about transition, or as I like to call it, the butterfly number, my life is quite often asking me to look at transformation. It's quite often asking me to make changes in my life in order to be successful or feel like I'm here stepping into what it is that I need to do. And so that's an influence on my life, but that is not me, because I am just Dana. For you, what is your life path number? Well, all you need to do is add your date of birth together. So if you were born on the 7th of January 2001, then you would add 7 plus 1 for January plus 2 plus 1. And the sum total of that gives you your life path number. So when we're talking about energy, of course, we've just come from a 2018 year. And the 2018 year, numerologically, is a number 11 year. And number 11 can also come down to a 2, because 1 plus 1, which is 11, also comes down to a 2 if you want to look at a single digit. But 11 is what we call a master number. And the master number itself has an impact on us in so much as when I resonate at my highest frequency to the extent of my true potential, then I can manifest and start to take steps forwards towards an opportunity that's offered me that represents my highest good. However, if I instead choose to compromise myself and what I truly want for myself in order to step into a reality that suits someone else, or that suits an environment that is external to me, then I'm quite often in the number 2 life path number, which is a slightly different experience. Number 2 is usually the peacemakers, the people who are trying to find the happy medium, the people who are usually trying to settle into something that it kind of balances the two things. So for example, if you really have this desire to have this amazing career, but you realize that in order to have that career, you need to take some steps away from financial wellness, because so many of us on the planet have chosen careers to earn money so that we can be comfortable. This represents not your highest good. This represents a compromise. So this would be a number 2 life path. But if you want to step into the number 11, then that would be you doing what your heart tells you you truly want for yourself. This would be your heart saying to you, this is my right to claim. I'm very happy here. I love it. And I do it because I know that it is value to me, notwithstanding money. Now, that doesn't mean that the money is not attached to the new career path, but quite often the new career path takes some time to adjust. And so typically someone who has a number 11 life path number may also have a secondary choice to make where they compromise what it is they truly want for themselves in order to have that happy medium. And so 2018, being a number 11 master number year, offered us this type of an opportunity with relationships, with money, with our health, with a variety of things, where we could have just stepped fully into something that made us uncomfortable, but represented our highest good and what we truly desire for ourselves, and for that to start to attract to you dividends and value, show you where your true value is. Or you could have compromised that in order to step into a more comfortable reality, and that was your choice during 2011. So that's just numerologically what we're stepping into. I will talk to you about what 2019 represents in a minute numerologically, but we're just working our way through for the moment, just a little bit of an understanding as to why you might tune into an energy forecast, because of course I do these every month, and I do these specifically to support those that find them of value, just because it helps sometimes to get a bit of a heads up. It's also helpful at the end of the month to recap on what might be going on within us and why it is certain things came to us. So for example, just saying about the number 11 minimizing down to a number 2 life path, that's essentially what so many of you would have had it as an experience during the last year. And again, just an energetic influence that's in the field of consciousness at the moment. Another thing that you'll quite often hear about, and I'm by no means an expert in this field, but is astrology. And astrology is more about the magnetic pull that acts on our consciousness and indeed our nervous system. And our nervous system is the part of us that regulates basically the flow of consciousness through all of our cells. And so with regards to that, of course, the spirit world, and those of you who haven't heard this type of conversation before, I am a spirit channel. So at the moment I am in alignment with a spiritual consciousness that helps me with these videos. That spiritual consciousness are a collective of ascended beings. I work with the Ascended White Light Women Collective, which is a feminine aspect, but I also work with the Ascended Masters, and they come through in collective form, mostly because the Ascended Masters were here as teachers, and they tend to support a lot of spirit channels generally, because that's how we get access to some of the lessons that they've had, being that the Ascended Masters were physically present on the planet at some point in time. So unlike some of the other astral beings that may come through, the Ascended Masters tend to have a connection to the earth plane. That means that they have a greater understanding as to what it is that they that we go through. So that's usually why they come through for me when I'm working with these videos specifically. Of course, those of you who have heard of the term medium, I'm also a medium. So the spirit channel within me also can channel the intelligence of our deceased loved ones that have passed on. And so that's not this kind of video, that's just the type of work that I do. And of course, if you want to reach out around that, you're more than welcome to. But astrology is a really important influence on us. Again, it's not my soul, it's just an influence on our cellular structure, and that's because we are magnetic. And so those of you who understand that our cells are mostly water and that there's a whole lot of space in our cellular structure, outer space, then you'll realize that there's actually a whole lot going on with our physiology than what science can currently quantify, just because we don't have the ability to quantify some of the stuff that's going on with us energetically. It's really left up to the energy intuitives like myself to be able to, and indeed yourself if you learn how to channel for yourself, to be able to attune in with this knowledge, because this knowledge is not earthbound yet. The scientific community works with earthbound concepts, but it's limited by the human brain, and the human brain is limited through our sensory cortex. So what that means is that We have a sensory nexus in our minds where we can sense, touch, taste, feel, see, hear particular frequencies. And I like to use the analogy of, if you look at a dog, for example, we know that a dog can hear sounds that the human brain cannot hear. And that's because the dog brain, the canine brain, has receptors that can receive the information in ways that we typically can't from our physical brain's perspective, just because we haven't evolved that aspect of us that way yet. And so with regards to that, our scientific method is also very much limited by this ability to perceive things in the physical world. And while it believes that if it isn't in the physical world, it doesn't exist, then they'll always have difficulty quantifying things like mediumship and like these energetic conversations that we are indeed influenced by, but science has difficulty proving that it does. There is some research out there for the record, but it's just not in mainstream science. And so astrology does impact our electromagnetic field because we are magnetic, and so that means that we get pulled into particular streams of consciousness or frequencies without our ability to block it necessarily. So understanding astrology is not vital to your survival, clearly, but it's an influence that may be worthwhile you just having a heads up and being aware of. Of course, typically the Mercury retrogrades is a thing now. You'll see it in social media. Mercury retrogrades are just basically when the planet Mercury appears from the perspective of our relationship with Mercury, the planet, to go backwards, to travel backwards. Now, of course, it doesn't actually travel backwards, but everything is relative in our solar system. And so when Mercury appears to be in retrograde, we tend to feel like our communication, because Mercury represents the ability to communicate freely and openly with ourselves as much as with the external world. When it appears to go in retrograde, we appear to suffer communication difficulties. And so you'll find that during Mercury retrogrades is when your electronics tend not to work particularly well. And of course the spirit world loves it, because the spirit world has the ability to also manipulate the electromagnetic fields. But again, we're not covering that in this video. So just to summarize, astrology does have an impact on you. It's just an influence, so do learn about that. In 2018, we had quite a number of quite profound retrogrades. We had a Venus retrograde not that long ago, which was quite a profound shift for many people, and it caused so many of you to start to question your role in your relationships and how love sat with you. And that was also coupled with a couple of other planetary retrogrades that made it difficult for us to see clearly. But you'll notice that if you're starting to really attune your frequency to the planetary grid, that you'll notice when these retrogrades start to fade, because things just suddenly start to resolve without you necessarily doing anything. And so sometimes with these retrogrades, it's just about sitting tight and focusing on the things that serve you. The last full moon a couple of days ago, of course, was a full moon in Cancer. And so many of you may have felt a little bit sensitive across that full moon period. Cancer, of course, astrologically impacting us significantly in the space, usually also in relationships and our ability to feel nurtured and safe within our current respective relationships. So we've had a lot of relationship revisitings in 2018 that's been quite profound. Another influence, of course, is your soul's energy and your soul's contract. Now, the cool thing about your soul's energy is that if you learn how to tune in with your inherent frequency of being and who you truly are on a soul level, then you'll find this acts kind of like when you've got a ship that's sitting a little bit lower in the water. It has a little bit more anchor to it, and the anchor usually keeps it steady during times of storm. And so partially the reason why we work a lot with the soul's energy is just to acknowledge that as a soul, we have this omnipresence or this ever-present being within us that is who we truly are on a soul level. And so when you tune into that frequency and get to know that frequency and activate more of that within you, you'll find that you'll have an easier time on the planet and things get much easier. This is partially why the spirit world encourages me to run so many online online events of clearing. We do moon cycle clearings quite frequently, and building manifestation potential within you in order to clear your field so that you can keep focused essentially on the dream that you're building for yourself, what your soul is calling you to do. It's really that active head and heart alignment as to why we do the events. And by all means, if you'd like to tune into those, please subscribe to this channel and jump onto our my Facebook page and see what's going on there. You'd be most welcome, of course, to join our Sacred Soul Sister Circle if you're a woman interested in doing some of that work. We have a Facebook group, but we also have an online platform building in 2019, which is very exciting to me. So I really hope that you were able to make that. The soul's energy is being constant and omnipresent is a great thing, because when you learn how, when calamity comes and strife comes your way, it allows you to sit truly with you and to breathe and to reconnect with you so that you can feel truly how you feel, but how this may impact you, the individual, on a soul level. So few of you really take the time to do this, and so when a circumstance or situation comes into your space that makes you uncomfortable, you become very prone to the stress mechanisms that you've inherited through your ancestral DNA lineage, which usually means from your mum and your dad or from your grandparents who you never met. We do know science, of course, has shown us that we are influenced very much by this these subconscious programs. And if you aren't connecting in with you on a soul level, then you will be prone to manipulation by them. And so it really helps you with your integrity to be able to understand what your soul wants regularly, so that you can keep, the ship in the water that we're talking about, so that you can keep the direction of the ship heading forwards towards the stuff that you truly value and the stuff that you want for yourself. This starts to call to you the things that you value and the things that you want for yourself, including friends, family, loved ones, career opportunities, and just general experience. So it's really important that we do that. And this year, because there's more light on the planet, 2018 was not just about being a number 11 master year. The sun's relationship to us is becoming more apparent. We are getting closer to the sun as we progress through time, and we are also shifting and changing. The Earth Mama is certainly changing at a rapid fashion, to the point where her frequency is no longer even remotely in the space that it was before. This means that we are lighter. Our light bodies are more active, and it means that we're more prone to be pulled into melodrama, because when we're lighter, we tend to sit higher in the water, of course, and we start to be pulled and pushed by the external influences around us. And our mind, she creates this beautiful imagined community, which basically means that our mind has this perception of reality that is unique to us. It is created solely by your experience and your reaction to the experiences that you've had across your life. And so many of us have had a hard time here, and we've developed a whole lot of coping strategies and mechanisms as children and young adults trying to make our way in this life. And indeed, if you're still there, you may still be creating these particular limitations on your experience. But this imagined idea of reality is something that we're all prone to, and when there's more light on the planet, we are even more prone to it, because we're lighter in our expression. And so this means that things have the ability to change rapidly, almost overnight. Once you make a decision, things can change really quickly. But we need to understand how this works for us, because so many of us are just making decisions to change, but we lack the ability to follow up with genuine action in the physical world. And then we start to get upset because we've made the decision to change, and we've made the decision to do something different, but we haven't acknowledged that we all still have this physical world that we need to also bring along with us. And the good news with that is that since we've hit the 2000s, since we've moved from 1999 to the 2000s, this whole period has been about partnership. It's been about collaboration. It's been about developing friendships, acknowledging that while I am here physically, tangibly in a physical body that is mine to own and to weld, I also am here to share my life with others. I'm also here to share experience with other people on the planet. And this sharing may be that it's no longer okay for me to just act in a way that harms the planet. It's not okay for me to just spend money on things that harm the planet. It's actually sitting out of alignment with my contract to be down here with the planet. The Earth Mama needs me to be working in tandem with her so that we can both move forwards in a way that supports both of our interests. She's here as a conscious soul to have an experience herself, and she's here quite willing and able to support us financially, food-wise, accommodation-wise, relationship-wise. She's entirely able to support us that way, but we need to take steps towards a collaboration with her where we have a conversation with her and what she needs from us, and we start to give back. And when we start to give back, she has endless bounty of wealth to give back to us. And so many of us already know this, and so many of us have started that conversation with Spirit. For those of you who have always wanted to hug trees and have stopped yourself, now's the time to just hug that tree. Of course, it's not about being a tree hugging hippie so much as it's more about acknowledging that we're not down here alone. And so whenever I have an impulse to connect with someone, there's no reason why we can't just reach out and connect with someone. Of course, then we also need to talk about boundary setting, and that's also because while we are down here to connect with individuals with this perception of being alone, we're not alone, but we do have this idea of self-sovereignty, which means that if I want to go and hug a tree, usually if I get the sensation to hug a tree, it's one thing, but I might want to ask the tree's permission first. And so too does it go with other human beings. So many of us actually forget the act of asking, the act of expressing what it is that I desire, and allowing that person to decide whether or not it's for them or whether or not it isn't for them, and living with the decision that they make. I mean, this is true collaboration. Collaboration is not me pushing my beliefs onto someone else. Collaboration is not me making everybody come to task with what it is that I want to do for me. It's reaching out to a person who I think may be interested in something that I'm doing and expressing that to them and giving them an opportunity to decide whether or not that's something that they want for themselves. So few of us actually go to that step. Firstly, so many of us don't even bother asking someone whether or not they're interested. And there's so many subconscious programs there that we could address that we won't again in this video because it's going to take too long. But mostly it's really important for us to understand that permission-based collaboration is vital to our survival. It's vital for our value systems. It's vital for us to survive the next 24 hours even of the planetary expression. So do understand that while we are here to collaborate, the 2000s allow us here to be present, to be able to express to other human beings in a desire to connect with them, but they need to be open to it. And if they're not, we need to respect that as an individual sovereign, they get to choose that. And I just open my mind to the potential that there's someone else there or something else there for me. If I truly feel like this is my path and this is the project I want to build, or this is the relationship type that I want, then I need to hold on to that. And as I hold on to that, I suggest to the universe that this is indeed what it is that I choose for myself, and this is what I want to be supported in this planetary system. And the universe will listen. The universe always listens and tries to provide you with what it is that you want for yourself. But with regards to collaboration, sometimes it's just not the right person. Or like many of you, I've also stepped into collaborations where I felt like it was going to work out fine, only to discover that that other person hasn't truly opted in. They've just agreed because they were thinking that I was just going to solve a problem for them, but they weren't willing to collaborate and to return the value back. And so we don't go there anymore. If there's no value coming back, then we need to get better at also at opting out of those types of collaborations where it doesn't feel like they're giving back. There are ways, of course, of doing that in a loving way, and there are ways of doing that in a nasty way. And so you've got to ask yourself, of course, if you're going to end a relationship of any type, which one do you want to be? Do you want to be the one that surrenders to love, or do you want to be the one that surrenders to, as I read in a book the other day, to black magic? Because that's essentially where curses and black magic comes from. So moving on now, these are just energetic influences, and so the soul itself has that trajectory, that nice steady influence of sitting in low in the water. Our intent is the guidance system that points us in the direction of heading, and then the rest then is about allowing the universe to adjust so that we are able to receive the support and love that we need moving forwards towards the stuff that we desire. So a few of us get there, and it's interesting that we don't get there, because if we don't get there, we are subject to the universal matter, which basically means that if I'm not focused on rebuilding and focusing on where I want to go and what my heading is and how I truly move forwards, then I'm prone essentially to the ebbs and flows of what's around me. And so what's around me essentially are the desires and wants of other people. And all of you empaths that are still listening to this video, you'll also know that when you're sitting in a state of grace and you truly want something for yourself and you get it clear in your mind what you want, and as soon as you step out the door, you notice that all of the things that are surrounding you tell you that you should be doing something else. And I really need to urge you at the moment that the planetary system needs you to hold tight and hold firm to what it is that you want, and to wait the time for the time to shift. The time shift is something that's truly important, because the universe cannot manifest the big ticket things that you're asking for overnight. It can't just suddenly jump around and turn, except where you have a heightened magnetism that's already built over a passage of time. So many of you do have that heightened magnetism and you're using it wisely, but so many of you don't understand how to weld it even though you have it. And so what happens is you decide you want to do something in an isolated space. You sit down, you do your manifestation list, and you do all your work, and you open the door and you step out into the big brand world, and you see that everybody else is rushing around and panicking and doing all those things, and you immediately fall into the panic, you immediately fall into the chaos, and you immediately fall into other people's drama. And that's all well and good. As the empath, I know that your desire is here to heal the planet, but you can't heal the planet while you can't heal yourself. And healing yourself requires you to not just sit and tune into the frequency of what it is that I truly want for myself, and where is my desires, and what is it that I want to be of service, where, in what area do I want to be of service of the planet. But it requires you to hold firm, to keep focused on what it is that your dreams are, because otherwise you get pushed and pulled into the wave frequency of everybody else who's screaming louder than you. And so building magnetism is important, but so is integration. And part of integration is when you notice that the person or people in your life are not supportive of what it is that you do, it's important for you to just take some steps back and don't buy into their bullshit anymore. Don't buy into their drama. Just nod and smile and say, I really respect the fact that you're there in a journey, having the experience that you need to have, but I have my journey and experience that's really important for me, and I'm going to focus on that. Now, with most empaths, that in itself is quite challenging, but it's entirely possible, and it's partially the reason why you're not getting the results that you need. It's not selfish, it's actually selfless, because you know that truly in your heart you're here to be of service, but you can only be of service when you sit in alignment with the frequency of your heart language. And it's really that simple. Being pulled into other people's drama manipulates your perception of your heart energy, and you start to misperceive your heart energy as being something that belongs to someone else. And so it's really important to address that. And moving forwards in 2019, you will not be able to get anything moving forwards if you can't hold your integrity for you. Full stop. 2019 is going to be a magnificent year for those of you who have your ducks lined up, for those of you who have a clear sight of what it is you want to contribute this year, and be very specific about what it is that you want. Write down 5 big things that you really want to do and pick one and focus on that only. It's really important that you do that. So many of you are scattering so many seeds to the wind that your energy is dispersed. And what happens is that, again, the ship has no real true general heading. It's zigzagging across the water and not necessarily heading towards the life that you want. Understand and trust that all of the projects that you really want to build, they're all well and good. They all could successfully fly, but they won't fly while it is that you're investing in all of them. So just focus on one thing and head forwards, and the rest will come to the party. I know that for so many of you, you're kind of fretting about money at the moment, and I really, truly appreciate that. I can understand that. But they're assuring me that with regards to money, there's a whole lot more about money that you are yet to learn. And partially that is about insistence that you're here to be taken care of. And when you're here to be taken care of, then it's just about focusing on the stuff that you feel is of value to you, rather than getting distracted on all of the money that you're spending that is unnecessary to you, because so many of you feel once you've spent that money on that thing, you sit back and you judge yourself as to why it is that you spent that, because you really couldn't afford that. And that in itself is an energy spiral that calls to, via the law of attraction, concerns and doubts about money. Your spending habits will continue along those lines. So just focus on the stuff that you really truly value rather than the stuff that you need, and you'll find that things work out better for you. Of course, you want to understand a little bit more about how this works, please do tune into the sister circles if you're a woman, and if you're a guy, you're welcome to join in any of our collective events that we work with, the full moon rituals and what have you. These things are really important for you, so please do keep focused on you and what you want for yourself, allowing other people to have their journey, of course, but also allowing you to have your journey for you, because that's vitally important that you do that. Also, the spirit world has asked me just to say that 2019 is very much going to be about integrity. It's very much about, if I say I'm going to do something, following through and continuing to follow through. As soon as you change your mind, things are going to fall over, and that's really important. Of course, it being still 2019 with a 2, remember we were saying before, there's a lot of collaboration for 2019, so there are a lot of opportunities for us to move projects forwards, but you will not be able to do them alone. You will need to ask someone else to be involved, and there may need to be some reciprocity with regards to what you offer. Just make sure that what you're offering seems to sit in alignment with what they're offering, so that there are natural synchronicities. If their business model or their relationship model doesn't seem to synchronize with yours, then it's doomed to fail. It's kind of that basic. So it's about when you meet someone and you feel like maybe this person is someone you can collaborate with for your business or for your career or for your lifelong health, because even working with medical practitioners, there also still seems to be that collaborative need there. You'll find that as long as there's a synchronistic value in you being there, then you'll get what it is that supports you. And so it's about tuning again into your frequency to allow your energetic system to call to you the stuff that truly matters for you. And so many of you would benefit just from a daily soul retrieval meditation, which means that in the morning you get up, you breathe, you call more of you to you, sit with you, and you ask your soul, what is it that I need out of today? What is it that I want to do with my day today that serves my highest good? And just allow the energy to flow through you. This stuff works if you do it consistently. If you're inconsistent with it, you'll get mixed messages. It's kind of that simple. 2019, 2018 we were saying is a number 11 master year. 2019 is a number 3 year. So numerologically, what we're looking at is we're looking at a creative time and a time of mastership. So of course, the Ascended Masters that are stepping through are working with us today. And indeed, they'll be working through our Becoming in 2019 event that we've got starting tomorrow, which will be the 27th in the Northern Hemisphere and the 28th in the Southern Hemisphere. Yeah, okay, I know that doesn't work, but you get my meaning. Where I'm in Australia, it's 2020. Yeah, okay, right. 27 of December, and it's the 28th of December in the US and Canada. So if you are joining us for that, we will be working a lot on getting a clear idea of direction and where we are moving forwards with this mastery stuff. But the collaboration is really important. And the universe is no longer caretaking for us, which basically means that previously the universe was just sorting stuff out and just fixing stuff for us. There is this rebalancing that the universe constantly does, because we are here as a yin and yang kind of energy. There's always a flip side to our universe here while we're on planet Earth. But the universe is really more about now supporting the direction that you choose. The law of attraction is something that was always profoundly impactful on us anyway, but because so many more people believe in it now, there's much more energy for it to work here. And if you believe in that stuff, then use it to your advantage. If you're noticing that in the external world you seem to be getting results that don't seem to sit with what it is you're expecting, then you need to sit down with your energetic system and you need to do a regression to see where it is the energy is flowing or not flowing, so that you can remove the block, so that you can start the point of attraction that supports what it is that you want for yourself. The universe is here to support you, so regularly clearing and cleansing is vital for your growth. So please do that. Please do that. The earth is of course still in rebirth right now at the physical present moment, but rebirth is cyclic. So what that means is that if you look at the moon phases, for example, we have a period that's called the shadow period or the dark moon, and that period is usually the time where there's less available light on the planet, and so it's easier for us to see the stuff that we don't like, or what we call shadow, the stuff that we're ignoring. And when that information comes to us through our experience, it's an opportunity for us to address it, ready for the next cycle. And so you'll see this with regards to your life anyway, whether you believe in this stuff wholeheartedly or not. You'll see that everything that we do in our life is cyclic. So you'll find that life is heading down a particular period, a particular direction, and a problem will come into your field. And you'll be like, oh gosh, why is this problem here? And you'll freak out about it, and you'll have a thought program, and it'll tell you a whole lot of stuff, some of which will not be true. But you'll go through a period where you'll have to look at that particular thing in your life, because if you don't, then you can't keep moving forwards. And so you'll start this process of reinventing yourself, or reinventing your perspective, or choosing a different relationship, or choosing a different way of approaching that particular problem. And as you do that, you start to shift things, and as things start to shift, more light comes into your field again, and things will start to roll forwards until the next problem comes into your life. And this is, whether you believe in this stuff or not, most humans understand that they have problems in their life, and trust me, problems generally come in a cyclic fashion. So you might find that things will rotate. You'll notice you'll have an issue with your relationship that comes in, and you'll have attention for that, and then you'll address it in some way, shape or form, or you may choose to ignore it, which is a form of addressing it. And then your attention will be pulled into a new space. So you might look at your career for a little period of time, and you worry about that, and then suddenly you're focused on your health. And so you'll start to jump between your particular things, but ultimately all of these things are just microcosmic cycles in your particular life. So too is the earth going through this massive shift and change. So she goes through periods where things are really chaotic, and where things start to rebound and become light again. And so regular moon manifestation practice really helps with that, to align with that. The spirit world is also reminding me that you'll notice that on the planet, the concept of sexuality has changed and shifted quite a lot. So we are more accepting now of the transgenders and the gay community, and all of the spectrum of association that's in there now. It will get to a point where we no longer have to label these particular genders as anything, because gender itself won't become such a big deal. And this is a really great thing, and this is a really good example of a macrocosmic circular energy that's been on the planet for a while. And so this is a really great thing, because we are starting to become more loving and accepting of people of all generations and all types and all sexual preferences. And indeed, I'm being reminded that more and more we're going to start to open ourselves up to more different cultures, so that we are less accepting of others and difference. Indeed, so many of you admire countries that your country may have a war against, and so those sensations of admiration actually come from the humanness that's in you, from you as a soul who is craving change and an experience. So just roll with that. That's really awesome. Cool. So 2019, really good message, interestingly enough. Spirit World wants me to say to you that 2019 is about you, and it's about being the rose that blooms this year. And so in order to do that, it's really important that you start to awaken you on a heart level, start to reveal more of you on a heart level, start to allow more of you physically present to express that love in all of the multifaceted ways that you feel inclined to do that. Understanding, of course, that it's a sign of dissatisfaction with yourself when you're dissatisfied with others, because we are in an environment where we are reflective. So be the rose that blooms this year, and keep that focused in the front of your mind. Of course, if you're involved in our Sacred Sister Soul Circles, you'll understand some of the rose work we've been doing with different colours and different frequencies of roses. So do see yourself in that space and allow you to bloom, because there's so many opportunities to do that. just going through, of course, month to month. Let's start firstly with January. As we go through 2019, January is very much about reclaiming the light within. On the northern hemisphere, of course, you're in winter, so there's a calling for you to tune into the light that's inside in order to stay sane. And so use this as an opportunity to practice being in the wealth that sits in your heart. And from the southern hemisphere's perspective, we're about expressing ourselves now. So enjoy January, and January is quite an intense period for many of us because the light will be very bright. And the light, of course, as she moves forwards, the light starts to shake out some of the darkness, because the more light we shine on things, the more shadows we see. And this is inherently true for any of you who've gone through a spiritual awakening, that once you start to acknowledge the light that you're seeking inside, to be present with that light, and that you'll find that the light then starts to show more of the stuff that you don't like. And nearly all of us go through a phase during the awakening period where we start to notice in the external world there's a whole lot of people that we just don't get along with anymore, and we notice that they're behaving in a way that we used to behave like, and it irritates us because we feel like we've transcended that already. And so continuing with the light in January, you'll find that in February there's going to be a number of relationship conflicts that come up in February. Again, partially this is also because it's the number 2 month, so number 2 resonates with the frequency of collaboration and partnership, but obviously this is also sometimes about compromise. And so many of you, I feel also January, there'll be a lot of work or career opportunities that will be offered as an alternative to what it is that you're doing now. And so as that comes up, do consider that and see how that sits with you, and where it aligns with you on a heart level, then by all means step through and trust that there's a better space for you on the other side. It's quite nerve-wracking sometimes to step into a new conscious choice, but it serves you no ends to do that. So if that comes up for you in February, then watch out. There's a greater good on the horizon that can be served by you stepping through that door. Number 3, of course, number 3 during a number 3 master year is quite a powerful month. So March will be actually quite a sublime month for so many of you, because the shift and changes in February will be really felt quite strongly in March. We're manifesting things quicker than ever. And so March will reap some rewards of some of the stuff that you've been investing in over a period of time. March, of course, is also where what you've decided to do for yourself beds down. And typically it's also the month where most people's New Year's resolutions start to fall over. So just watch that. If you're going to sit with a resolution for 2019, and I do recommend that we do resolutions because it's intention setting for the year 2019, just make sure that whatever it is that you choose, that it sits in alignment with what you see yourself to do. And even if it's a little bit outside of your comfort zone, take grace in the space of, if you happen to lapse up, then just deep breath and get back onto the horse. Just keep going back onto the horse. So that's what March has to offer us. I feel like April, May, June is going to be a little bit quieter. So from April, May, June, there'll be a lot of travel on people's books and travel philosophically as much as physically. I feel like I'll be overseas again for May, June, July. So there'll be a lot of shifting for me personally, but I'm also feeling like from that perspective, astrologically, I feel like things are going to quieten down and we'll find that things will settle down a little bit. The new reality, of course, some of you have listened to my forecasts already. The spirit world is constantly talking about this new reality that's going to step in, and I feel like by March it's going to be in place. So the shifting and the chaos and turmoil that we've had for the 2018 point of call, a lot of the changes that we made in 2018, by March 2019, they'll be in place and we'll be happier. Heading into June, July, August, I feel like those 3 months will be again another speeding up. In this northern hemisphere, of course, it's summer. So June, July, August is going to be very much about being seen by others actually, but being seen in a gentle way rather than in a robust and profoundly confident way. So many of you dared to step into yourself in 2018, where you allowed yourself, for example, on social media to be a lot more obvious and a lot more open. But they're saying that in 2019, you'll have a bit more of a flow with that, where you'll find that being able to be in public with people will be gentler, and it will be more focused towards the agenda that you have, and broken down into bite-sized pieces so that your client base can digest that. I know that not all of you are practitioners on this video, but a lot of you are, and hopefully that will serve you, because I'm being told that for so many of you, that's when you'll have the aha moments with where you've been going wrong in 2018 with regards to your business structure and model. So you'll find a bit more flow, and social media will settle down a lot during that period of time. People aren't so, want to use the term pissy. It's a bit of an English Australian thing, but the world's not so pissy about social media by then. There's been a lot of hype around social media and how they keep changing things, but I feel like the changes will settle down for the summer season, and there'll be a lot more coherency with how to express yourself through social media. Of course, the spirit world is saying, those of you who aren't really into social media, awesome, good on you. It doesn't mean that you're disconnected, but you'll find the same things happen within your social networks generally, because as these energetic systems work, the social media is really just a reflection of the social networking structures that are around. And those of you who are already onto the new agenda, you'll realize that your activities to reach out to people on a regular basis in order to be socially active will start to settle down a lot. So you'll find that you won't be looking so much for new people, but you'll be more inclined to invest in the ones that are there already, because you already have enough friends. It's about quality relationships across that period of time. So from August, September, October, November, December, feeling like August, for some reason I need to talk about August. March, of course, is going to be a change point, but I feel like August is also a change. August, there'll be a frenetic activity that starts to take place, and I'm not sure if they're talking about an astrological move, but what I feel like is in August, there'll be a shift in reference to karmic contracts, which means that a lot of you will realize that the place where you're resident in is not the place where you want to be in the long term. It's served a shorter term strategy, but you've made some headway with regards to what you choose for yourself in the long run. And you'll realize that a lot of the stuff you're telling yourself that you need, you actually don't need. Sometimes when you get to that realization, it comes at the end of quite a catastrophic cycle of grief and dissatisfied experience. But what they're saying is that it's going to be mostly from boredom that you actually realize that a lot of the energy that you've been putting out just doesn't feel right anymore, and you'll pare back to the things that really serve you and matter to you. Moving forwards now, November, December, they're asking me just to have a look at the fact that November and December, again, there'll be a change and shift of the guards. So the new year that takes place in January in 2020, there'll be a massive lead up period of time. So I feel like from November, which is of course interestingly enough for master number 11, from November, December to January, there will already be a shift into the new reality, and most of you will be very excited to head into towards 2020. Of course, 2020, interestingly enough, numerologically it's a number 4, but it also has 2 2s and 2 zeros. Zeros are always about the universe and a holistic approach to life, and 2s of course is about partnership and collaboration. So you'll find that with the 2s and the 0 and the 4, it basically suggests that you'll be in a state of transcendence where a lot of the tethering that you have to old world problems, just you don't have a taste for it anymore. In fact, there's no magnetism behind it, so your attention won't even be pulled into the drama and chaos that you had in 2017 and 2018. You're drama free essentially in 2020, and that's not to say that there aren't going to be challenges to solve, but your appreciation of them will help you realize that challenges are just opportunities to expand yourself in great ways. So many of you will be out there and up there by 2020 that I can't wait to see where you go and what you're going to do with yourself. So hopefully that covers it. Of course, these full year forecasts always take just that, a little bit longer. But I feel that there's good news at the end of 2019 and 2020, of course. So the message I feel quite strongly from the spirit world is, remember that your highs and lows have been really high and really low over the last 6 months, that there is a settling in of this feeling where you realize that the highs and lows don't need to be so extreme for you to start activating change in your life. Change and transformation is not about ending something and completely letting go of who you are. It's about stepping more into yourself. It's about creating more space for more of you, more of your authentic you to be in space and time and to be represented here on the planet. The planet needs you. You've only incarnated here specifically because you have codes that need to be expressed here through your own natural way. And that's it, really. At the end of the day, most of us are just pulled into everybody else's drama. We're in the belief system of believing that if it doesn't align with everybody else, then it's not worth value. But it actually is. Everything that you express in this life has value. And as soon as you respect and learn to love that, you'll have an easier time on this planet. Okay, so I hope this has been helpful for you. I will be signing off. Again, long video. Perhaps you've stuck it out, and those of you who haven't, well, I'm going to wish them a happy new year. For those of you who have, of course, feel free to check me out, www.danaspiritbutterfly, that's D-A-N-A spiritbutterfly.com. You can, of course, arrange for a private reading and forecast if that's what you choose to do, what you feel like. If you'd like to understand a little bit more about how your intuition works and how you can develop that over a period of time, then also subscribe to the YouTube channel, because there's more YouTube videos that we are planning to release. But also further to that, we have a number of events and workshops to gift to you more knowledge as to how to step into more of this knowledge for yourself. So I wish you a beautiful 2019. Celebrate the joy and the life that you've had. I hope that if you can make it, you join us for our Becoming event on Facebook, which starts on the 27th of December if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, or the 28th if you happen to be in in Australia and New Zealand. And yeah, I hope I can be of service to you. Otherwise, I love you. Spirit loves you. I wish you a beautiful start to your 2019. Okay, take care. See you.